And right now, we're actually being joined by a very special guest, Stro. He's actually a good friend of mine. Kathy is pretending not to know him for some reason, but Joe Zanolle, the ECWA matchmaker and longtime friend of mine, PWI photographer, all that great stuff. Joe, what's going on, man? How you doing tonight?
Brady, how you
What's
doing?
up, brother?
How's everybody doing?
Good, good. You have heat with Kathy up here?
I know you more than half my life. You don't know me.
She's like, Joe who?
How you doing, Stro?
Hey, how's it going?
Good,
good. Stro, you know, I don't know if you realize
I know
this.
Kathy.
Go ahead.
When did I meet Kathy? Probably when I was like 15, 16.
Didn't you meet her at the arena before they built it, and then they built it around you guys, and then they brought in the ring and started to... Yeah. Stro, I don't know if I ever told you this story, but so if you go back and look at WrestleMania 18 or 19, right?
Mm-hmm.
In particular, like picture like Hogan and The Rock, right? They're doing the iconic stare down, and they pan down slightly, Stro.
Yeah.
Young Joe Zanolle with his camera, right there.
Ah, nice. Nice.
Yeah. What were you saying, Joe?
I tell people like the different things I've been involved in with wrestling, but and whatever little things I was able to do as a referee, photographer, or running.
Yeah.
It's probably my top thing was being there because I can't describe what the atmosphere was like. It was nothing like it ever. And to me, that was the best wrestling match of all time. I mean, I know it was no 5-star classic, but if you were there, you know, it was unbelievable.
And it was like the last time that like photographers were allowed at ringside like that, really.
Was it? I don't know, because
one of the last times,
back and forth.
Yeah.
It's funny doing those shows back then. I remember it was easier to get into Mania than it was like a Raw or SmackDown. And I forget what agent it was. And they said, well, we let everybody in for Mania. I was like, oh, okay. I guess, they try to give them as much press as they can. But
yeah.
Mm-hmm. I remember one time I drove to Baltimore and they wouldn't let me in. And, that was a waste of a ride.
But there's going to be more to it.
I'm glad I got to do that Mania. I'm really glad I got to do that Mania because that's the two of the most charismatic guys ever in wrestling.
It's amazing.
And it was just funny because the crowd turned. The crowd that Rock and Hogan turned in the match, and people say what they want about Hogan and stuff, but we probably wouldn't be talking. Maybe we wouldn't even be talking right now if it wasn't for Hulk Hogan. Who knows?
Probably not. I probably wouldn't have become the fan that I did. Joe, you talk about that being your greatest moment. Is it better than hiding from Abdullah the Butcher in the shower?
Well, actually, that was Honky Tonk Man after I got hit by Abdullah.
Okay. I know
I never forget, Brady, going up to Abdullah the Butcher and asking him, introducing myself and asking them what they needed from me in the match, him and Bam Bam Bigelow. And he was trying to figure out, and he says, when the time is right, you'll know. And I knew when he hit me, and I fell. And I remember Bob Ortiz saying, Joe, they're coming, roll. So
I can roll. Oh, my God.
Under the bottom rope, and Honky Tonk Man was singing in the shower. So
that's tremendous.
A lot of cool things. Of course, with ECWA, the first Super 8, with Tommaso. I mean, that was like a, pretty cool thing to do. And
yeah.
So I've had my fun over the years.
Well, we've definitely
probably got to do more than I could have expected to do.
What were you saying, Kathy?
So.
Joe, do you remember that time at the Civic Center when they made you go to the hospital with the ambulance guys?
I just wrote that on Mick Foley's thing. Well, Mick Foley mentioned me in his book, not by name, saying,
right.
The referee's faking, and they're taking him in an ambulance, and I got holes in my neck. And I said, and I wrote on his post, I said, I don't know if he's seen it, I said, I knew how to sell, Mick. Yeah, that was that's a long story, but long story short, the commission thought I was hurt and thought I was saying I was okay, and they didn't want to, I guess, be liable. And they're like, if you don't, they said if I didn't go, they were going to, stop the show, figuring that I was hurt and was just saying that I wasn't. I mean,
wow.
And he's
so
standing there with Joey Lawler. And Lawler's like, remember Lawler was laughing because he was like, are you sure you're okay? Are you sure you're okay? And he was...
Yeah, well, I remember it was Honky and Rude, too. And it was me, Honky, Rude, and Tony Stetson in the room.
Wow.
I mean, I was 19.
In the room, you owe me $10.
I didn't know nothing but that.
Sorry. I just said it's in... You said in the room, you owe me $10. I'm just kidding.
Oh, okay. See? In the room started May... Like I said, Mick Foley just put it up. What was it, May 21st, 1991?
Wow. And this was the old TWA. Yeah.
Right. Rick Rude and Honky. And I guess I was whispering to Tony because I didn't know what to do. And I didn't know those guys. And Rude's like, look, Honky, the ref's kayfabing us. and then the next week, Rude pile drived me when I got in Northworth in Connecticut. And I remember Larry Winters saying, where the hell are you at? And he goes, next thing I know, I see your feet coming through the door on the gurney.
So you had a rough time. You had a rough time in the TWA. At least in ECWA, you've managed to be relatively unscathed, Joe. I mean...
yeah, I think it was just a super kick by Sean Carr, right?
Right. And I was supposed to get one. I expected I was going to get one, but I ran away. So I never got super kicked, which is probably for the best. But yeah, no, I mean, I look at a lot of these changes in the ECWA, Joe, and you're a unique animal in that you've been with the company I'm not on and off. You've been with the company through 3 different owners now, and obviously you're part of this management team now. What are your thoughts on ECWA and where it seems to be headed?
Well, everything changes. A big part of it the last year or so has been this COVID. I mean, that's, placed a lot of restrictions on us. Running the show when you're, it's tough enough to draw to a show, but then to be told ahead of time, well, you're not allowed to have more than X amount of people in the building is even tougher. Because now, you want to get as many people as you can, typically, during normal times. But now you got a cutoff, and, I mean, it's not easy. A lot of the stuff that we've been doing over the past year, a lot of it is really revolves around business and finances and, if we have to limit the number of people in a building. I think, ECWA's changed a little bit. Everything changes. I think we still have great wrestlers. Well, we talked about the last Super 8. I thought that was a great Super 8. I liked all the guys that were in it. Unfortunately, that ending, was a little flat, but, I mean, stuff happens. Very good professional wrestler, broke his ankle. That guy's really a wrestling machine. I've grown to appreciate him a lot inside the ring, and you're going to be doing commentary with him, right? On the Women's Super 8.
So the Women's Super 8, the end of July.
Was, I thought that Super 8, where Kellyanne Mcmurphy won, was, I mean, we had Crowbar. We had a lot of, good guys in there. I love Timmy Lou Retton and Matt Mikowski, I hadn't seen him much. He was great.
Yeah.
I mean, I like Bam Sullivan a lot. I know he does a lot of hardcore, ultra-violent stuff. I'm not a big fan of that stuff, but I'm a big fan of his. I thought, he's got a lot of personality too, and I thought it was a great Super 8. Everybody was there, was happy to be there and put everything into their matches. And Kellyanne Mcmurphy's another one. He's been around with us on and off for a while, and with his addition with Big Dust. I was really upset Ricky Morton wasn't there because I wanted to see him address Kellyanne Mcmurphy's manager, Big Dust. And his southern voice as with Dusty Rhodes. But
I could see that. I thought
Crowbar did great.
I did too.
Crowbar slid in and saved that show really in a lot of ways because if you think about it, we didn't have Crowbar and had somebody else, it would have really changed the tournament a lot and probably not for the better.
Well, you know what I really liked about it.
Been a huge.
Yeah.
What's that?
No, what I really liked about it was it tied into the past. He was a part of the first 3 Super 8s. Yeah.
Right. If we just got somebody else, and I mean at that point, if I couldn't get Crowbar, I mean, beggars can't be choosers, right?
Right.
Who knows who was available? I know there were some other shows that day. And
on 3 hours' notice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know what, Joe, and obviously you're talking about all this great talent that ECWA has brought in, not just at the Super 8, but over the years. As the matchmaker, as one of the head guys backstage for ECWA, obviously you have a huge role in kind of scouting talent and finding a way to fit it in a limited budget, and I think you guys do a great job with that. What kind of goes into that process as far as like finding the guys and girls that maybe people, and obviously there's some names involved, but a lot of times you're finding these hidden gems that nobody really knows about until they go to ECWA.
Yeah, it's tougher now than ever. That's one of the things I complain about. Is, people say, well, the Super 8 isn't the same as it was in 2000. Well, in 2000, there weren't, 30 wrestling promotions, around. There wasn't the internet. And, of course, Wilson Aries, friends with him. And, and he said he came to the Super 8. He never wrestled outside of Minnesota before.
Yeah.
In 2004. So now, I mean, I could have a match and everybody could see it live or in 10 minutes. So it's harder to, discover people. It's harder to discover talent that people don't know about today than it was 20 years ago because of the internet and social media. I mean, it's what's the word, Brady? I mean, it's like real time. Somebody works and that's it. It's out there. People see it.
Yeah.
And then there's tons of promotions out there and people jump on, talent that they see.
Yeah.
I guess I kind of look at it as there's guys out there that maybe, I'll say a Kellyanne Mcmurphy, right? That maybe some people are missing the boat on. You know what I mean? He's out there. People know about him, but, maybe he's, not being used a lot or people don't know about him a lot. I mean, he's out there. You can find him, but same thing, I think with Timmy Lou Retton.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's, how do I put this? I'm getting tongue-tied now. I think he's better than maybe what he gets credit for, and, so something like the Super 8 is a chance, I looked at as a chance to have people see him, that maybe otherwise they wouldn't. So, yeah, it's hard. It's hard, like I said, because there's so many promotions, and you know, you'll see that with the girls Super 8 too, the women's Super 8. Hard to find talent that no one has seen yet, but hopefully putting them in the Super 8 format will get the ones that haven't been seen as much as maybe they should have been seen.
Well, I know, like for the women, for example. Sure. I know, like, for the women, for example, that ECWA has announced that Gabby Ortiz is going to be part of the tournament. A tremendous addition, obviously. A lot of people know what she brings to the table, and I would say she's really popular, especially with that South Jersey crowd. So I would imagine right away you're looking at an immediate kind of a front rider, at least in terms of, you know, the fans and what they perceive from her. But I mean, it must be so difficult with people hitting you up to be part of something like this.
It is, and a lot of times people just don't understand, like, I got kids and a job and stuff. It's hard to...
It's like Heath Slater.
Get back to everybody. I try to. People, you know, or talent has to realize, too, that, I mean, if we have a show with 6 or 7 matches and maybe one tag, so 6 matches is what, 12 people, and a tag's another. That's 16 people.
Yeah.
There's hundreds and hundreds of workers. And, you know, some people are cool with it, you know, if they can't get booked. Somebody like Joey Yates wrote for years.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up.
Had wound up coming to a show, and we used him and been using him, and he's been great. And it was nothing personal, you know what I mean? Sometimes we have like a role that we want to fill, and not just anybody can fill that role. When we had, I don't know if you remember, now I'm trying to think of his name now. ECWA, he was doing, oh God, what was his name?
We're getting old, Joe.
Travis Blake. Was it Travis Blake? Well, he was with Gus Grant, and then we lost him, and I wanted somebody to do like that model gimmick. You know, so, you know, if we have a model gimmick in mind, I'm going to be looking for a certain kind of guy, not just anyone.
Yeah.
You know, or if we want like a monster heel, I want a certain type of person. It's not going to be just anybody.
Yeah.
So sometimes we're trying to fill a role specifically. But yeah, sometimes it just depends, you know, on luck. If we lose somebody, you know, 10 minutes later somebody contacts me, you know, it all depends. But, you know, some of the talent, you know, get upset, you know, if they write to you and aren't used. But there's so many indie promotions out there.
Yeah, there's no shortage of availability, so for sure. Go ahead. No,
it's just it's tough. A lot of people coming at you, you know.
Yeah.
Looking for work, and
to take it.
Crowbar's a perfect example. He'd been wanting to work for a while.
Mm-hmm.
At Super 8, and when we announced Ricky Morton, I told him if something happens, somebody cancels, I'll let him know. And you know, I called him, you know, that morning, that Saturday morning. So remember when I told you I'd call you if somebody cancels? So.
And it was great that he was able to jump in. Another thing from that tournament, and I do want to transition to Heat Stroke on June 5th, because I think a lot of people are really excited about this. I understand it's going to stream on Facebook Live, so you'll be able to check it out there. But Mr. Ulala, obviously, winning the ECWA heavyweight title, and we had him on here a couple weeks ago, and he was absolutely beside himself, excited, and almost as surprised as any of the fans, which was pretty damn excited if you think about it, and pretty damn surprised. Joe, what do you think when you see a 55-year-old Mr. Ulala finally capturing Big Red like that?
Was that how old he is?
I asked him for the story.
I thought it was great. Obviously, it was something we thought about over time. I didn't know if it was ever going to happen or it was going to be the right time. If you remember, I came up with an award for Mr. Ulala. You know, we have our Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
But I gave him the Lifetime Achievement Award. And I kind of did that because I was like, well, if he never gets the title, you know, I wanted to give him something that nobody else in ECWA had, which was that Lifetime Achievement Award. But I think it was the right, you know, it was the right place, right time. Fans out there in that area like him a lot, as you know. No matter where we run ECWA, you know, the fans like it. And I think it was, you know, something that didn't know if it was ever going to happen. So the fact that it did was, you know, a surprise. I think it was a lot of fans were surprised, and that's not easy to do anymore. You know, surprise fans.
No, you're right.
No, I'm happy. I'm looking forward to his historic first title defense. And, you know, if anybody deserves it, it's him. He's been, you know, in ECWA, like you said, through all different owners, different whatever management, and he's always been there for ECWA. So I'm glad that he finally won the heavyweight championship.
It was pretty cool to see. And I know, like, for example, the guy that he won the title from, Joey Ace, you talked about him earlier. Here's a guy who obviously he goes into that match expecting to win, Joe. But more importantly than that, Joey Ace, because of the performer that he is and that the competitor within him, he wanted to bring the best out of Mr. Ulala. He wanted to have the match of the night on a Super 8, which is like so difficult to do. They did. They really did.
Yeah, they had a very good match.
No, so go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Ulala, you know, a lot of times will be involved in stuff, maybe some more character-driven matches and stuff like that. But they had a great match, you know, more than I expected. I think the fans were happy, and yeah, I think that the two of them had a great match together. And you know, like I said, no disrespect to Mr. Ulala, but I think a lot of that was Joey Ace too. I think Joey Ace.
Sure.
You know, they say who's a great wrestler, who's a great this, who's a great that. I think Joey Ace is a great worker. You know, and I think he can have a very good match with just about anybody that, you know, we put him in the ring with.
I would put him up there with Papa Don, with Osriel, with Brian Danielson, just about anybody who's come through ECW. I'd put him right up there with the best of the technicians. But with that said, Joe, and here's the first hard-hitting question, why is Joey Ace not automatically the #1 contender? Why isn't he getting that return match at Heat Stroke?
I knew you were going to ask that.
I had to. Okay.
Well, first of all, I don't like that Joey Ace interrupted the opening ceremony. Now, you know how I am about the Super 8.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like that. I take the Super 8 serious, and he shouldn't have interrupted the opening ceremony. So that's one reason.
Okay.
I kind of, you know, just thought it was interesting for this beat the clock, and I kind of just figured Joey Ace into that situation better than a rematch. I think that he should have to face his Poppy, you know, his best Poppy there.
I got my Poppy shirt on.
Right.
Sorry. Yeah.
Well, now who you can be cheering for in that match?
I don't know. I think Joey likes me a little better, but I can't really say either one because the other guy will beat me up.
Well, I'm offended that Ray Calitri does not include me in his not rated vignettes that he does
right.
with his mamacitas on his yacht and in his shower.
I know. I told this guy he's like a porn star. You could be like his driver.
But Teddy Fine is no slaps. Teddy Fine.
No.
Teddy Fine's a big guy.
Teddy Fine, by the way, for those who don't know, he's the one challenging Monsieur Lalonde. He's a longtime independent guy.
That's correct. That'll be a challenger. He's half of the tag team champions, and I just think it's going to be a good match. And same thing with the beat the clock matches. Joey Ace taking on Ray Kalitri, and then we got Chris Wilde and Sam Shields. That's going to be another very good match. You know, I'm a big Chris Wilde fan. He's been with ECWA a long time.
Yep,
he's right
working his way up from the bottom. Yeah.
And, you know, Sam Shields is in phenomenal shape. He is ripped. And another great roster member in ECWA, Sam Shields. Whether he's in a tag team with Rockwell, which it's not right now, or he's singles. I mean, you know, Sam's a former heavyweight champion, too.
Yeah. Well, they can, that's one of the defining things. Go ahead. I was just going to say that I think there's a delay here, Joe, and I think that's why we keep. I apologize about that.
Sorry.
No, I was just going to say that that's one of the great things about the guys on the ECWA roster now is like they kind of excel wherever you put them, whether it's tag, singles, pretty much any environment. They're all game. Yeah, and you were saying about the third beat the clock.
Right, which is Mike Law and L.A. Vin.
Yes.
I think L.A. Vin had one of his best matches with Ricky Martinez. I don't know if you remember that. I thought that was a great match.
The blindfold match.
And Mike Law, another former heavyweight champion, 2-time Super 8 competitor. So I think we got a pretty good card coming up on the 5th. And then we have now I want to get mixed up a little bit here.
I got it all right in front of me.
Championship.
You added the territory
championship.
We're
waiting to see if Matt Vertigo retains.
Right.
It's going to be Matt Vertigo against Eric Martin, and if Matt Vertigo retains, I believe it's the 29th, he'll be defending against Eric Martin. And for people that were wondering why Eric Martin wasn't at the last show, I don't know if we announced this, but he had been around a family member who tested positive for COVID.
Yeah.
And we just didn't want to take chances, and luckily we didn't, because I think he wound up testing positive the following Monday. So
wow.
I heard some people.
So he's a 2-time COVID guy.
Martin. I guess so.
Yeah. He won his first one in November and came back. Yeah.
Right.
I shouldn't joke around about that.
Because I was around somebody. So, we're not taking anybody.
Yeah, I missed November.
We're not taking any chances with that.
At the November show, I woke up with 102-degree fever. I had to miss the show.
Right, that's right. You missed that one. Yeah.
Yeah, I did. That's just
anybody that comes to the show, like I said, we're not messing around with any of that stuff.
Sure.
I mean, that stuff comes first.
Well,
it was a bummer he couldn't be there, but it's not worth the chance. So.
You know what? There's always another opportunity, like I was telling Pele. There's also going to be a Legacy Championship match. Kellyanne Mcmurphy, who won the title 2 shows ago, is going to be defending against former World 1 champion Chris Rockwell, former tag team champion Chris Rockwell.
Right. Right, both of those guys, great wrestlers. Like I said, I was always a Midnight Sensation fan, and fans of both of those guys in singles. And I'm a big fan of Kellyanne, who he's the Legacy champion, which was the Mid-Atlantic Championship. We changed it to the Legacy Championship. And he's also the Super 8 champion. So that's going to be a big match.
Does that put extra pressure on him? Just the fact that he won the tournament?
What's that?
I just asked, does that put extra pressure on him, just the fact that he won the tournament just a couple weeks ago?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, it's kind of like, the trophy's not on the line, that you win, that's up for grabs once a year. But, if Rockwell could beat him, not only win the Legacy Championship, but they just beat the current Super 8 champion, which is, it's kind of like another feather in his cap if he can do it. I think that's going to be, that's a first-time match. Couple of the first-time matches, and I think that's going to be, that's my pick for match of the night. And we'll see what happens. But Kellyanne's great, and Big Dust at ringside. He provides a lot of entertainment. So
yeah, he helps them win sometimes
what do you
too.
think
So
about
Chris
Big
better
Dust?
watch out. I like you know what's funny about Big Dust? Dustin Wilson, actually. And one of our callers is named Dustin Wilson. So when I learned his name, I'll never forget it.
No.
This kid is insane. This is the kid, I don't know if I ever told you about him, but he'd call in and he pretended that he was like best friends with Seth Rollins. So he'd be on the road with Seth Rollins at like house shows and stuff. He'd be like, he had his own tour bus. This guy was working everybody, Joe. Who would have even known? He even briefly held the world title. It was never recognized by WWE. Seth Rollins won it back like a day later, but yeah. And so this is Dustin.
Rio de Janeiro?
No, I believe it was Chicago. I could be wrong about that. Close, pretty close. So I like Big Dust.
Well,
I think he
Chicago. That's a violent town.
It's like Rio. I shouldn't have said that. I'm only kidding. But what I like about Big Dust is well, first of all, he's made Kellyanne more arrogant, but he's instilled in him this confidence that I think he had, but he wasn't as apt to display. And now, like Kellyanne, like he went into Super 8, Joe, and I'll be honest, I think he was the only person that went into Super 8 knowing he was going to win, and there was no doubt in his mind. And you said it yourself, he had as good a shot as anybody, even if a very good professional wrestler didn't break his ankle.
That's exactly right. He could have just as easily won that match if very good professional wrestler didn't break his ankle. And I think a lot of guys in that tournament, that's what I like about the Super 8 so much, is that I think the 8 guys are all great competitors, and any match can really go any way. And it's kind of like, one thing happens and then you go off in one direction with the second and third round, or if something else happens, it goes into a different direction. I think all 8 of those guys were capable of winning the Super 8. So, yeah, Kellyanne did get a big break, no pun intended, with the very good professional wrestler getting hurt in that match. But he still had a great chance of winning that match. I mean, Kellyanne's on a roll. So,
not to sidetrack you, but you talk about the great history of ECWA Super 8, and obviously you've been so involved in it for a while now. Do you ever think back, like, the legacy of the entire thing and, like, how significant it's been for so many different people? Do you get, like, those pinch me moments, Joe? Like, does it ever hit home for you just how important your role in, like, this huge tournament that's been such a big deal for so long? Like, does that ever hit home for you?
Yeah, Super 8 for me every year is like a second Christmas. I love the Super 8. I love it as a fan. I love it as a photographer. I love it as part of management. I know a lot of people blow smoke and BS and stuff, but ECWA does mean a lot to me, and especially the Super 8. There's not many wrestling events, especially outside of, the national promotions or WWE, that's an annual, reoccurring event, like, 25 years of Super 8. So it is important to me. And like I said, it is a little bit different than it was in the 2000s, but the wrestling world and the world in general has changed with social media, and just the business has changed with the number of independent promotions. But it's important for me to keep it alive, and I think what makes it what makes the Super 8 cool and special to me is that the history it has. And you can't just create that. You can't just start a wrestling promotion and say, I got 25 years of history on day one. It takes 25 years. And it's not me, you know, it's Jim Kettner, it's, you know, Mike Tartaglia, it's, you know, John Finnegan, all the different people that have been involved over the years. The Mr. Ooh-La-Las, the Chris Wildes, keeping the promotion alive, keeping the Super 8 alive, and PWI Magazine too. You know, a lot of people know the Super 8 from PWI Magazine. I mean, obviously in 2000, and I'm going to harp on the internet and social media. There was no internet and social media, but people knew about the Super 8 from the magazine. So, yeah, I think it's I think it's something that not many wrestling promotions, I don't want to say brag about, but, you know, to just have that history that many years.
Sure.
You know, so yeah, I'm happy to be a part of it in whatever way I can be, and always looking for great talent, and anybody that comes in the Super 8 and is able to get anything out of it for their career, that just makes it even better. I remember in 2011, both Tommaso and Adam Cole, I think they were just starting to get a little bit of a push in Ring of Honor. You know, they were just starting to, you know, being featured. But that gave them an opportunity to be the main event. Yeah. And I know people from Ring of Honor were watching, you know, and it gave them a chance to show what they could do in the main event. So
gave them confidence too.
Yeah, and they had a great match.
They did.
You know, Adam Cole, great match with Austin Aries. You know, that was one of my favorite Super 8s still today. And, you know, it was the first one that we did. So, of course, you're not going to be partial towards it. But, yeah, I think Super 8 does have a lot of significance. And can't wait for the next one. Can't wait for the girls. I mean, in 5 years with the girls, if you look at the past competitors of the girls,
they all did something.
Yeah, we had a lot of great. I mean, look, we had. Look, I'm not delusional. You know, I understand Tessa Blanchard. You know, Tully's daughter or whatever, but she'd only been working about 4 months, so we got her very early and put her in a prominent position. And, of course, her own talent and her name. But I think I gave people a chance to see her. You know, same thing with somebody like, you know, Gianna Carrazzo, who we had her very early. So, I think this year's Women's Super 8, you're going to see some of that talent that, you know, might be early in their career, but in a couple of years, they're going to be, you know, getting a lot of attention, and I hope that for all of them. I hope for all of them that they're able to get whatever they can out of it, you know, for their career.
Sure, and if you look, even like the last Women's Super 8 winner, Quinn McKay from Ring of Honor, I think it was like her 7th or 8th match, or I guess it was 8th, 9th, and 10th. You know, and she made quite a name for herself as well. Joe, you're talking about you know, future tournaments and always scouting, always being open. I have a proposition for you. I'm going to throw a name at you.
Is it the K-Cup?
No. This is a competitor for next year's Super 8. Maybe it's a guy out of North Carolina, right along the coast. He's made a bit of a name for himself, and I know he's hungry as anything to come up our way. Former WCW star Maestro with his manager Big Braid.
The Stro. Well, we do occasionally. Now we did it this year. Occasionally, we will have a veteran in the Super 8.
Yeah.
Kettner did it with Jerry Lynn. We did it with Crowbar. So we don't do it all the time. we try to mix it up. I don't want to do the same thing every year.
Mm-hmm.
But how many you got left in the tank, Stro? What do you think?
Well, I'm crazy enough, haven't retired yet, so I'm still in pretty decent shape. So
I keep him young.
Well, see, the thing about the Super 8 is, sometimes you have the greatest worker in the world, but you got to go 3 matches. So
right,
it's whoever's going to win's got to have that stamina. And the other thing in the tournament too is that, if you're smart about it, you want to try to win your match as soon as possible because you got to save yourself for the, if you're going to advance second and third match.
You got to pace yourself and have that endurance, right? Yeah, pace yourself and have that endurance.
That's right. It could be a long. I mean, I've seen some long Super 8s.
Seriously.
I know. I remember the Chris Daniels and Austin Aries one. That was a long night, and it was a great match. And Daniels won, but people were talking about Aries after, which is what I tell people too. A lot of people, if they're not winning, they kind of got a long face on. That's the wrong attitude because if you go in that ring and you show what you got and it's good, people are going to notice it and appreciate it whether you win or not.
Brady's like Mickey from the Rocky movies. He keeps me going. So, yeah.
Oh, he's Mickey?
Yeah, he's Mickey. Yeah.
Come on, Stro.
Yeah.
Brady could be manager of champions.
Yeah. I'm 1-1 as a manager.
McMurphy, Big Dust would be in the other corner, Brady.
Yeah. I'm 1-1 as a manager, so I want to get over 500 before I'm done. I'll tell you what. So we are up against a commercial break, Joe, and I got to let you go in a second. But June 5th, ECWA, of course, Heat Stroke, and it is going to be an amazing event. And I was looking for, there was one other match that we didn't mention. It was the tag team opportunity match. Greg Spitz and Reginald the Butler taking on Sugary Sweet Travis Lee. So this is an opportunity. I'm assuming the Flabtastics get a title match if they can win this.
The Flabtastics. Do you like that, Brady?
I mean,
anybody that comes out of that locker room handing out candy, let alone Reese's cups.
They won me over.
I'm all for it.
Yeah. Me too.
Nice.
I'll tell you what. That Travis Lee had one hell of a match with Chris Wilde a couple months back. And that was one of the best matches I've ever seen Travis Lee in. So, a handicap match, but I think Travis Lee learned a couple tricks in that match. So, it's 2-on-1, but anything can happen. But you're talking about, a big chance if he's able to win it, get the tag team title opportunity. So.
No, it looks good. Good.
I just hope he brings the candy with him.
Me too. So June 5th, that's Heat Stroke, and that's from Morganville, New Jersey, the Jersey Dugout. Information available, ECWAWrestling.com. And then July 31st, Joe, we were talking about it, the Women's Super 8 tournament. Gabby Ortiz announced so far.
At the Monster Factory.
At the Monster Factory.
Oh, wow.
Myself and a very good professional wrestler lending commentary. So
that's right.
I can't wait.
It's going to be a great one. And we're also going to have a men's heavyweight championship match on that show, too.
Okay. And do you know, will that stream on IWTV? Do you know?
That's on IWTV, right.
Yes. Okay.
The Women's Super 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one is.
Yeah, and this June 5th is on Facebook Live, I understand.
Right. They have something where I think it's like $7 to watch it.
Okay.
Yeah, this one's on Facebook Live. Yeah, we're trying that out for this show. So we'll see what happens. But
sounds good.
I hope to see everybody there. I know Jersey's opening up a lot of stuff. We're still going to do the masks and stuff for this show. We're not going to rush anything. But, I'm really hoping to see people out there. And like I said, if you've ever been a fan or ever been to an ECWA show, you know Mr. Ooh La La, you got to be there to see him defend his title, or if he can defend it. But it's going to be one time only. It's, you know, there's only one first, right? It's going to be his first title defense.
Might be his only title defense. Who knows?
Could be his last, too, right?
Yeah.
So, but I know that covers a lot of ground, right? 30 years of fans at different shows. They all know Mr. Ooh La La, so you got to get out there on June 5th in Morganville.
Well, Joe, thank you so much. Joe Zanolle, of course, ECWA Matchmaker, and tremendous guy. He's been a good friend of mine for a number of years. Thank you so much for the time, Joe, and I look forward to seeing you next Saturday. I think it's going to be a great time in Morganville.
Definitely. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
All right. You too, Joe. And so, guys,